What up, perps? Get Copious back on the attack. Purple State Party out here representing America, the center, common sense, and that all-important freedom. Stay free, my friends. We got a lot to unpack today, so let's just get it cracking. All right, so today being the 16th of September, it is International Red Panda Day. Sad that these little guys are slowly going extinct, but, you know, it's not really in my control. All I can do is just love them. Another one I love here, Scott. I don't know how Scott made it into the roundup this time, but when your leaders start putting you and your friends into work camps instead of giving out free stuff. Did I miss a page? Yeah, you know, America's starting to wake up to this fringe left crap that's out there. You know, you could bring up all the whack jobs on the right that you want, but I don't think the right has an agenda that leads us to communism. Democrats complain that illegal immigrants are destroying their sanctuary cities. This isn't even a joke, really. They are complaining, and they are destroying sanctuary cities. Look, I mean, I know everybody deserves an opportunity, and I'm all for that, but the way it's going down ain't working. The people who are coming over here ain't working. And, you know, it's a broken system, and nobody will just admit to it and try to fix it. You know, they want to blame each other. They want to talk about immigration reform. Look, what they do when they get here, that's, you know, that's a problem. That needs to be solved. Sure, they need to be able to work. But one of the reasons why we have legal immigration is so that we can keep some checks and balances. You know, right here, Karen Bass says she's fearful that any day planes filled with illegal immigrants will be flown into the city. Well, then why are you supporting the policies that have led to this? You know, instead of blaming Abbott, you know, she added that transportation of immigrants from border states in Florida to sanctuary jurisdictions is just setting the stage for the presidential election next year. That's what... That's already happened, lady. That boat, that plane has already flown. We already know what the left's border policies are. There is none. You know? And right now there are governors overrun by illegal immigrants. You know? Texas is one of those places. And that brings up the question, why Texas? Why are so many of the illegal immigrants coming into places like Texas and Florida? Now, Florida I could sort of understand because from that part of the world, that's the closest point. But Texas is a strange one. You would think California would be overrun, not Texas, which makes you think that, you know, maybe there is a conspiracy going on. Who knows? But, you know, they've got to spread the wealth. Look, it's America's border, not Texas's. Like Abbott said, our border communities are on the front line of President Biden's border crisis, and Texas will continue providing this much-needed relief until he steps up to do his job and secure the border. Texas towns have too many people, so send them to the sanctuary cities. Just like the liberals to do that, to promote their ideology and refuse to live with it. So Bass, of course, calls the Republican governor's attempts to destabilize the city. It's a narrative, she says, that these are Democrat-run cities, and we don't know how to govern, and that everything is chaotic here. Well, okay, let's look at some of the big Democratic-run cities: New York City, Los Angeles, Seattle, Portland, Chicago, Minneapolis. Again, train wrecks. I believe you could throw Detroit in there, but I don't want to kick Detroit while they're down. You know? These policies don't work. Period. New Mexico governor suspends First Amendment to silence criticism over suspending the Second Amendment. This is, of course, the Babylon Bee joke, but it's what they do. It's what these people do. If you don't have an argument, silence your critics. That's rule number one, I believe. Maybe not rule number one. Let's put it down rule number 8, okay? New Mexico criminals excited to hear no one will be armed for an entire month. That's the only people that benefit off these policies. I'm sorry, but that's the truth of the matter, okay? Liberal border policies harm citizens and immigrants who follow the rules. Soft on crime only helps the criminals. I understand. People are people, and we need to show compassion, but we can show compassion in our courts to people who deserve the compassion. These people, all of their actions only benefit the wrong people. This is what I'm just putting up because it's kind of funny. Experts believe Aaron Rodgers' ankle injury due to result of being unvaccinated. Our fantasy team won last week. I did have players tied to Aaron Rodgers, and it turned out okay, but yeah, whatever. Really quick here's some statistics on who supports and who doesn't support reparations for slavery. Dude, this is the Democrats would prefer to send you checks, have you stay at home, stay off the road, stay out of the amusement parks, stay out of the movie theaters, allow the rich people more freedom of movement, and just keep collecting those checks to sit on your ass and play League of Legends. That's what they want. Reparations for people who were never slaves. That's kind of strange, like, what's next? We're just going to pay everybody in a town when there's a crime because they were all victims of crime? It's buying votes. It's buying votes, and it's undermining what America is about. Whatever. More insanity before we get to the insanity. Bay Area scientist says he left out the full truth to get climate change wildfire study published in a prestigious journal. There you go. A new study by a team of mostly Bay Area scientists that found human-caused climate warming has increased the frequency of extremely fast-spreading California wildfires has come into question from an unlikeliest of critic, its own lead author, because they left out poor forest management and other factors. Like they say, 99% of scientists who have an opinion agree. Yeah, because you silence the other critics. You are making up reports to get published. You know what people want. You know what people are going to pay for, so you write the report that way. Dude, I'm not trying to simply bust environmentalists. No, I'm an environmentalist myself. But I don't want to do it through lies. I don't want to do it in ways that make people money, but don't actually solve the solution. Is that really too much to ask? And, one of the biggest things that they always say about Trump is racism. Biden under fire for accidentally calling minority workers those without high school diplomas. We've seen record lows in unemployment particularly, and I focused this my whole career, particularly for African Americans and Hispanic workers and veterans. The workers without high school diplomas. That's what he believes. No matter how much he says, no matter how much the left tries to say that he's not, he is a racist. All right? He is an old white guy. He is everything that the left says is wrong. The left blames Christian white men for everything. I should not have put in Christian right there. White men for everything. What is Biden? Is Biden some progressive young black guy? No, he's an old white dude. And that's what he really does think. And that's what he thinks about those people. He is not focused on that his whole career. We already know this. Whatever. Let's get some more lies out of fucking Joe here. All I hear from my friends on the other side of the aisle is what they say is wrong with America. I've got news for them. Right. We've got the lowest inflation rate among any major economy. I don't give a shit about the rest of the world, okay? I don't care what the rest of the world is doing. Really don't. Honestly don't, other than soccer. It's about all I care about, occasionally rugby. I don't care. We are getting shit hammered here. While he, like Nero, fiddles. This is Bronco right there. America's burning and he's napping. He's got a little sippy cup. He's got his R.L. Peters bag of bribes right there. This dude is a bought and paid for agent of the Ukraine and China. He is a puppet of the left. He is nothing. He is not a man. All right, Jack and Brandon. Biden has repeatedly insisted that the economic conditions are improving in the United States. However, only 37% of Americans buying this. 60% disapprove. 58.9% disapprove of how he's handling the economy. I want to share my economic vision. Look at that. We're just going off a cliff. The rich are fine, okay? The upper crust white folks that he fucking represents are fine. It's the rest of us. I'm there every single day in warehouses, working in the backs of buildings. I see and hear what people are going through. All right? I know how bad it is. And when he just lies about it, instead of doing anything about it, try and fail, but at least try. Best economy ever, Jack. This came out back in August. U.S. inflation means families are spending $709 more per month than 2 years ago. Those are simple facts. I don't know. I do not know what it would look like if Trump had won re-election, okay? I'm not going to come up here and say to you that I know Trump would have done a better job. I'm pretty sure he couldn't have done a worse job. And then he goes, this is the kind of disassociation with the common people that this administration has. He puts this out, every single one. Every House Republican voted against the Inflation Reduction Act. Did not reduce inflation. All right? It was a green agenda, and you hid it behind a pretty fucking label. That's what it was. All right? You put makeup on a pig, it's still a fucking pig. Pork, that's the reference. And then shit like this. Taylor Morgan here, just, Chuck Schumer. Because of our Inflation Reduction Act, nearly $75 million is on the way to plant trees across New York. Hey, you know what? That's great. Planting trees is a great thing. We need more, the squirrels, they need all the places to nest that they can find. And birds and all that shit, and shade, and cleaning the air. I'm all for that. But when it came from something called the Inflation Reduction Act, it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense at all. Fentanyl. Look at that. The spoon, open border policy with China. Why China? Because Biden's been bought and paid for. All right? Always remember that if a Chinese business does anything, period, full stop, they're doing it for the Chinese Communist Party. Okay? It's the way it works there. That's the way they want it to work here, but that's the way it works over there already. They are making money, sending the chemicals to the cartels to make fentanyl, to make meth, to make all that kind of stuff. Sorry, I had to take a water break there. Income drop, poverty soared under Biden. I'm not going to give you all the numbers, but the average household income declined by 2%. It's not a lot, but, it's something. It adds up. Inflation has gone up nearly 7.8% from 2021 to 2022. This is the largest single year increase in the cost of living since 1981. Unemployment has risen. Inflation has risen. Look, the thing about these lefty ideas is that when they're exposed to the light, they fall apart. They don't work. Okay? There are some examples in Europe where this so-called socialism seems to work, but they have a much smaller population, a different population than what we have here in the United States. So you can't compare. You can't compare our economy to other people's economy. It doesn't work here. Socialism does not work. Communism does not work. And keep in mind, the people at the top, hey, their lives are great. It's all the people below. That's what it's like in places like China. 10% living large. 90%, right? You know this. Hunter Biden indicted by special counsel on felony gun charges. And he tried to buy a gun, lied on an application. I think he deserves to go down for this. I don't think much will come of it. But, along with the gun, there's the tax evasion and all of these suspicious monies coming in. And they keep trying to repeat it like it was repeated in this article. Uncovering no clear evidence. No clear evidence. So murky evidence? So there's some evidence indicating that Joe Biden profited from or meaningfully endorsed his son's work. Dude, the kid was out selling his dad's influence. Why can't we just say it? We live in this world now where, social media companies shut down what the government... I mean, is that the world we want to live in, folks? It's just gross. The human mop here. White House says there's no direct evidence that Hunter Biden actually exists. Yeah. Dean Phillips here, Hunter Biden is guilty, but the president isn't. The evidence suggests Hunter Biden is guilty of unethical and or illegal behavior. The evidence suggests Joe Biden is guilty of absolutely nothing more than being a father. Right. These are the same people who backed the Russian collusion. These are the same people who backed the Hunter Biden laptop being Russian disinformation. What the hell do you think Hunter was selling? They pretend that Hunter worked at a store where people came in, gave them money for a hot dog, and were given back nothing and said, thanks, see you tomorrow. No. And I don't care if Joe Biden was able to hide all the evidence. It's great. That's great. And again, as Bronco points out here, what evidence? The Ukraine prosecutor, right? Devin Archer's testimony, whistleblowers, the laptop itself. And where did a lot of this money come from that Biden has? Why is it that Chinese companies are paying everybody in the Biden family? Joe maybe doesn't need the money for himself, so he knows the best way to hide it is to give it to family members so that they don't have to get money from him. That's the way it works. Collected up to $5.2 million in unexplained income, met with 15 of Hunter's business associates, named in multiple emails. The whistleblowers say that he's the chairman of the board of his son's Latin American online gambling firm. They shared bills. He had almost 24 aliases. If you're not doing something wrong, why do you need an alias? I get it. When you check into a hotel as a celebrity, you use a fake name. Boom. See, they use an alias. Somebody says, why are you using an alias? They don't want to be recognized in public. But he's doing this with Hunter, his own son. Whatever. Another one here. This guy, Amos Hutchinson, he basically said, he came out in a May interview saying that Biden, by releasing hundreds of millions of barrels of oil from our strategic reserves, has successfully curbed prices on oil. He also said that oil is what drives inflation, so now inflation's going to come down. He predicted oil prices, right, to remain low. This guy, look at, these are the kind of people making decisions for us. Does he look like an American even? No. He looks like a slimy Bond villain. Right here, he backs up what I just said. Really, oil prices, which affect food prices, were really affecting inflation rates. We brought down the price of oil and the price of gasoline and electricity and food for the consumer. No, you didn't. I have never had a higher electric bill than I did this year. This is the highest I've ever paid. And we did not have a brutal summer out here. Yeah, it was hot, but it was not. Oh, no. Remember, I work outside, so I know I'm a good gauge of that. You'd almost call me the thermometer. Boom. But yeah, so oil prices affect inflation. Of course, oil and gas is back up again. In California, it's starting to get up to $6 a gallon again. And that's why when people like Barrasso here say Joe Biden and the Democrats are intensifying their outrageous attacks on American energy and the American public is paying the price. Inflation lives and dies with the cost of energy. Biden's energy policy is driving up the cost. And this is the worst part. It's crushing people's hopes. It's stealing their dreams, and it doesn't have to be this way. This is America. The reality of this is, regardless of, irrespective of cost, America could provide everything America needs. We don't really need anything else. Joe Biden, who supposedly did not take bribes from the Chinese, has turned over our energy to China. He is shutting things down, left and right. Quietly reversed Trump-era rule and bans transporting fossil fuels by train. No pipeline, no train. So now we're going to do it in dirty trucks. Even though the trucks are polluting, they want to take away our cars to stop the pollution, but they want more trucks doing the oil. It's madness, but it's all designed, I think, to ruin the United States. To make it so bad here that we embrace communism. That's what I think. So as part of the far left, the commies plan to destabilize America and make it so that only rich people can drive. The U.S. Energy Secretary and her entourage tried to go out on an EV road trip, and they couldn't find enough electric chargers. Yay, so let's build more chargers. Then the problem goes beyond that, because as you add vehicles, you need to add chargers, and we're already so far behind. Besides, it's just not feasible overall. But they were going from Charlotte to Memphis, and they had planned out their route, but they realized there weren't enough charging stations for their entourage. So what did they do? They used an employee from the Department of Energy to drive on ahead in a gas-powered car to block the chargers so that they would have enough charging ports. They blocked a family with a baby who ended up having to call the police. A 911 call was made. I'm calling you because I'm at the Grovetown Walmart at the charging station, and there's literally a non-electric car that is taking up a space, and they said they're holding the space for someone else. And it's holding up a bunch of people who need to charge their cars. Great. Great. Have you ever seen this at a gas station? I've never seen this at a gas station, and I will reiterate again, my day, my job puts me in contact with gas stations all the time. I'm constantly having to fuel up. Thank God I don't have to wait 20 minutes or drive or plan my whole route. I couldn't do my job in an electric vehicle because it would run out of batteries. It just would. That's the thing. I have an electric golf cart. I know what happens. I know how you start off with that 30 mile range, and you flip on the Fosgate amps, booming out of the speakers. You got your music playing. You got your air horn going. You got a couple friends on there. But you ain't getting 30 miles, man. Everything draws. Now, in Teslas, they have everything on subsystems. The air con, that kind of stuff, the radio, all that. That's on a separate battery. So that doesn't affect electric vehicles quite as much. But it proves the point. When you're out on the road, you can't just pull over and hook up to an extension cord. It would be very difficult. It'd be very difficult to run out of gas nowadays. Batteries, I think that's going to happen a lot. And it's going to become a real problem. But again, there is a common sense future in this that you could see if you looked at it. Whatever. Yeah. Right in the middle, like one person was saying, if the Biden administration can't make it from Charlotte to Memphis without an incident, how do they expect to transition our military's non-tactical fleet? It's a road to nowhere, like Ernst out of Iowa said. But up above there, Biden's ambitious EV plans could make us more dependent on Chinese supply centers, experts warn. Warn? Could? I think it's a foregone conclusion. Okay? It's a foregone conclusion unless we want to just decimate the natural beauty of certain areas and just mine until we can't mine no more. But I don't even know if we have enough here. So the Republicans forced a floor vote to reverse California's electric vehicle mandate. Now, how is it? And, 8 House Democrats even joined it. And the reason why the federal government can get involved with this is because California's law affects the rest of the country. 40% of vehicles sold are sold in California. And then you throw in New York, Massachusetts, Washington, Oregon, Illinois. You throw in some of these people who are banning gas-powered vehicles, and it's going to force the industry to change. And that's what they want. They want to force it. And again, this is our government trying to force it. This is we the people for the people and all of that. This is not a country where the government tells you what you can and can't buy. That's why it's called. I mean, you remember the Inflation Reduction Act, which had nothing to do with inflation or reducing it? This is the Preserving Choice in Vehicle Purchases Act. It'll probably get vetoed, but the reason why they can do this is because the EPA has to give California an exemption. They have to exempt California from federal law to allow California to do this. And that's where the massive conspiracy comes in. Because this is not California, this is a coordinated effort. This legislation, the Preserving Choice, is an option. It is not anti-electric vehicle. You see how things are done? Okay, the sponsor of the bill, Joyce, for those who would like an electric vehicle, they should have the option to buy one. But it doesn't help my constituents. Electric vehicles are great for rich people or people with enough means to have a charging station at home, a short commute normally, who don't want to be bothered by the peasants at the gas station. That's what they are. This will never work. This will never, ever work. Too many people live in high-density housing. How are you going to support that? Why is it that instead of us cleaning up our acts in more meaningful, singular ways, like, again, why don't we just switch to nuclear? If you don't want to burn coal and natural gas to make electricity, fine, great. Build a nuclear reactor. Again, let's look at some numbers on this. I'm really talking myself to death over EVs, but the average cost of an EV, about $64,000. The average compact gas powered car, $26,000. The range on gas is 403 miles compared to a median 234 mile range of a model year EV, the same model year. They don't want us driving. This is the manufacturer's president and CEO, Chet Thompson, restricting consumer choice by eliminating competition and banning entire vehicle powertrains is the wrong path to achieving greener transportation. One reason, because it's an EV mandate. It's going to stop innovation with gas. We have a lot of gas. I'm willing to believe that as it stands right now, we can last longer on gas than we can on the lithium. All right? And the cobalt and some of this other shit that is much harder to get to. Not as plentiful. Whatever. But more fun Biden news. U.S. moves ahead to advance prisoner swap deal with Iran and release $6 billion in frozen funds. And we're getting five citizens back, but we're giving them 5 back. We're releasing 5 prisoners that we have here. And I'm guessing that the prisoners we have here are bad people. But, they're like, hey, We're going to waive our sanctions. We're going to allow the money to leave South Korea. And then it's going to go to Qatar, where the funds will be available only for humanitarian trade. Right. Okay. Iranian president plans use the $6 billion prisoner cash wherever we need it. Wow. So Iran's not going to keep their end of the bargain. Good job, Brandon. Border Patrol union head says reported Biden plan to keep migrants in Texas won't help agents. This is insane. On Monday of this week, Border Patrol apprehended more than 7,300 illegal immigrants, not including those who had evaded custody or appeared at points of entry. What? 7,300? It's a flood. It's flooding into one place. And as we saw earlier, everybody's complaining when they try to spread these people out. This is the kind of shit that makes me open my eyes and realize there is something going on here. They are really attacking the American middle class and the American poor or lower middle class. This is not America. This is not America as we knew it. This is a place where the ruling elite do what they want and escape the consequences. And when they can't escape the consequences, they get all batshit crazy. Yeah. My least favorite human, Gabby Newsom. I hate this guy. Look, I mean, he looks like a slimy politician. We would have done everything differently. Newsom reflects on COVID approach. And, he goes on to basically use the word we and all of this and, say things like, I think there's a lot of humility. And we didn't know what we didn't know. And it was hardly, I say, it was we collectively, whatever that means. That was him, not me. They knew what these policies would lead to. They knew. How is it that the average human, the average citizen of America, the average citizen around the world kind of knew how this was all going to happen? And now the politicians are saying, oh, whoops. We have to hold these people accountable. What they did here in California crippled our children, crippled our economy. It just destroyed downtown San Francisco. It's probably destroyed downtown LA to some degree. But, LA spreads out into a bunch of warehouses and studios and things like that, even manufacturing's not that way. But they knew what was going to happen. And this whole thing, like he says, I think we would have done everything differently. Right. And when he was asked about criticism of state's decision, he said all of it's legitimate in terms of reflection. This is why we need to have spaces available to voice our dissenting opinions. We were muzzled on certain topics, and all of those topics turned out to be, we were right. And that scares me so much about what happened in 2020. Scares me. Really scares me because, holy shit, we were right. This whole time, his whole approach to the pandemic was wrong. And of course, he says, and I agree with him on this, the partisan nature of the pandemic. Well, part of that was not the pandemic. Part of that was some people like freedom, and some people are fine having the government tell them what to do. Okay? It's not necessarily the pandemic. It was made that way by his own party. They're the people, the Harrises and the Bidens, who said they don't trust Trump with the vaccine. Right, that's what they're saying now. But they said they wouldn't take the vaccine made under Trump. They started it. They're the ones who made it political. They're the ones who wanted things like lockdowns and mandates. Okay, lockdowns and mandates are not words that Americans respond well to. And you knew that. You knew that. You know? We're going to skip all this, but apparently DC is such a pile of shit. But this, you think about this guy here, James, and he's a lobbyist. I'm going to make the wild assumption that he's probably a lefty. But let's just say James here is a lefty. They stopped walking after his husband and another couple were beaten by a group of minors on scooters. He stopped even walking in the afternoon after a young person threw a bottle at him as he left Whole Foods. At that point, James and his husband, who had lived in the city for 30 years, decided to leave D.C. for Maryland. You see, it's not whatever smoke screen the left throws up. It's the policies. It's the policies that lead to this. And then, when the people you voted for who enacted these policies that ruin your city, you leave. But you keep voting for the policies that force you to leave. Yeah. Just gonna end with this. This is Data. I love it when I find people who characters or whatever that I watched or adore. I'm offended by something you posted, Data. I'm unconcerned. But you have to listen to me, Data. No, I do not. But I feel like my voice has to be heard. That is unfortunate. I'm Kid Copious. I'm Purple State Party, and so are you. Love one another. Stay free and dance it out.